Hey guys, welcome to Motion Weekly. This week I am talking to Josh Bridgeman. He is a physique competitor, so bodybuilder from Great Britain. He competes in things like the Arnold, like he also placed second in the Diamond League, which is one of the top competitions in Britain, so second in all of Britain, which I think is quite a high level and quite insane. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. He gives a lot of good tips about dieting, about nutrition, and also about the actual lifting and knowing when to back off, when to push harder, all that kind of stuff, and also just general fitness tips, especially for weightlifting, but also very good tips in general for being more productive and sort of being better at using your time wisely while still, exercising 2 hours a day or whatever you have to do to be at a certain level that you want to be at. And obviously he wants to be at quite a high level. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Have a lovely night. And I would also love if you would check out his Instagram, his YouTube. It'll all be linked in the show notes. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than
Everybody
you.
has time. Stop watching Lost.
I love what I do, and that's why I'm doing what I love.
Hey guys, welcome to Motion Weekly. This week I am with Josh Bridgman. Josh Bridgman is a physique competitor from Great Britain. He has won the IFBB Diamond Cup. Got second place in the IFBB Diamond Cup, and he was placed first in, what was the other championship?
So I came second in the British finals, so that was kind of second overall in Britain, and then I kind of won a qualifier earlier on in the year as well. And then the Diamond Cup, I did the Arnold as well. I came seventh there, which is just improvement on last year really. So that's all I was going for, which is happy days at the end of the day.
And then how did you get into that? Because it's like not many normal people think of going into competitive bodybuilding. Like it's not something that most people get into. How did you start doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of played a lot of rugby growing up. That was my thing. Played football for a long time and then gave up, and then took up rugby. So I always kind of appreciated the physical aspect of weight training. So I'd always do a little bit of weight training, and I actually hated it back then. I remember I hated it back then because I could barely kind of bench anything. I couldn't squat anything. I just found it all hurt. Yeah. But I just was persistent with it after I got kicked out of quite a good academy for being too small. Ironically, like not progressing physically was the words they used. Whoa. So I don't know if that rang true of anything, but I kind of went to uni the year after that, or maybe 2 years after that, and then just kept on the lifting in the gym. Just carried on doing it. Just ate big, got strong. Tried to think of different weights that I wanted to lift and different ways I could do it. And then someone just picked up a flyer one day and said, "Look, this is a university bodybuilding competition. Why don't you try it?" And I was already watching some kind of YouTubers who are into it, just because they had similar lifestyles to me. And I started to really enjoy it. So that kind of just persuaded me along the path of competing, really. Yeah,
and then because were you mainly just lifting at that point, just to get big, all that kind of stuff, like sort of just from a perspective, like I have a very I literally my only goal right now is just get big, gym. Sort of just have fun with it. Do you think it's changed a lot? Do you see it more as a career now than just a thing that you do?
Yeah, so everything's definitely changed. It was exactly how you are right now. I went in, I lifted what I wanted to lift whenever I wanted to lift it. Went on a little 4-week stint of trying to get this bench press. Then I'll change to, okay, I want to get my squat now, and then I want to do my deadlift now. But now it's very much more efficient, much more geared towards what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to do with my body. Much more much more backed up by research. Just actually doing it properly instead of But both are good. Both are really enjoyable.
Did you have a lot of issues at the start? Did you not know sort of how to do it at the start? Was there a huge learning curve?
In hindsight, I did things all right. I kind of got the basics pretty well, and I was always pretty good at sports and coordinated. So I got the lift pretty quickly. And progress came, and I just loved the progress. And then the issue just kept going and going and going.
Did you find there was any in your first 2 years any major issues that you sort of didn't know how to got over? Because I know recently for me, I actually just started tracking my calories to bulk because I thought I was eating a lot, but I never sort of realized how much I was actually, like, I didn't think I realized I was actually eating not nearly enough. Did you ever have any issues that where you sort of just plateaued?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I only started tracking what I do like kind of 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And I've been I would say I've been kind of bodybuilding for 5 or 6 years now. So of that, 3 or 4 years, I was just kind of lifting, not without purpose, because I always had goals.
Yeah.
But it was good. It wasn't great. It was just good. It just worked, but it wasn't efficient.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that my stubbornness to go on the internet and YouTube and Google and ask like people on Instagram and read different posts was my downfall, because I just kind of stuck into that same cycle of doing the same stuff. And when my goal was to progress as well, so like if your goal is to progress and bodybuild and grow, then you should be doing everything you can to improve on that. If you're just there to enjoy the lifting, which I think when I do quit bodybuilding, I will go in the gym and I'll do whatever I feel like.
Yeah.
So just stressing the importance of tracking everything. Yeah, that was something that I didn't really do, and I think that's changed everything.
How much do you think tracking, like when it comes to tracking, like, do you think it's mainly just important to track nutrition or actually your lifts or what you're actually doing, or like just absolutely everything?
Yeah. So again, depending on your goals, like if you are right, this is it. I'm going to be the world champion bodybuilder. You've got to have the same mindset as Messi or Ronaldo would, or any other world beater. You have to do everything in your power to be able to put yourself in a good environment. So, you'd take everything. I would track everything: your sleep, how much you walk a day, how much you sitting down a day, what's your mental fatigue like during the day, what's your physical fatigue like during the day, and you want to be optimizing each one of these points. If it's to be like, if you're like, this is what I want, I can do. Yeah. But if you're just an everyday lifter just trying to get healthy, like it's not healthy to do all that kind of stuff. So I would say
when it comes to like it's not healthy, do you think like, because with bodybuilding there's a lot of stigma around like functionality and all that kind of stuff, but do you think you're better off bodybuilding or not better off bodybuilding, like for general health wise and just general mindset as well?
That's a good question. Actually. I think I would say you'd better off with bodybuilding, just because I think it's changed my outlook of everything. It's molded me as a person. Yeah. I think everyone needs to lift in some way, for one way or form or another, just for general bone health, muscle health, general posture health when you get older. Like as soon as your natural testosterone starts to drop post kind of 35 or however where we're getting, when it starts to really affect you, your muscle's gonna start to atrophy. So actually you need to be lifting so you can be anabolic, so you can actually create and keep that tissue, so you can essentially live a healthier life, in quotation marks, whatever that is. But if it was to be like directly competing, it's a different story. It depends what you're doing, really. It's a different story, yeah. Yeah,
because I know there is issues with people thinking, well, even possibly real issues with people dieting down to 5% body fat, like super low, and it's obviously like incredibly mentally taxing. Do you think like how mentally taxing do you find bodybuilding on like the rest of your life? Like, do you sort of treat it as whatever mental tax happens, it happens, or sort of like try and minimize the tax?
I think there's definitely an aspect of whatever happens, because I think bodybuilding is a very selfish sport, and you do need to kind of draw lines where they need to be drawn, whether you like it or not, just because if you want to win, you need to put yourself in the best environment possible, and sometimes that means not having to walk around a supermarket one day, or not having to walk around a big shopping mall because you've only got 2,000 calories to eat and you've already done 2 hours of cardio and you've already trained for 2 hours, so you need to think about these things. So but yeah, it's definitely a completely different world of competing.
How do you find it's like sort of shaped your mindset on different things unrelated to fitness?
Completely. I find I'm never more focused than when actually I have less food and I'm actually doing more and I'm losing body weight, I find that's where I'm at my more focused now that I'm kind of eating more. It's not that I lose my focus as such. It's just that I feel less urgency just to be like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm trying to carry over into this kind of when I'm in a different mindset and a different struggle. But it definitely gives me so much structure to my day. Like just because everything has to be structured, discipline. It teaches you how far to go, and it teaches you hard work because it's hard. Like if you got to lose like lots and lots and lots of weight, and many people do have to lose a lot. It's really hard. Like mentally, it shows you where you can go. Emotionally as well, because like the stress on different relationships. I think it shows you who your real friends are. But I always tend to give them a warning before you go into that season. But every time that I do go down into that state, that really depleted state, it gets better and better and better, and I manage things better and better and better.
So do you find it's like you have to sort of, like when you're at that period where you know you're going to be, you're cutting, it's like super low calories, do you find you have to manage other aspects in your life just to sort of keep it at a level where everything doesn't implode, but you're going to probably get the best results that you can?
Yeah, exactly. You got to deal with the card that you've been dealt. Whether that's making a timetable and making sure that you get things done, whether that's prepping a meal so you don't waste time cooking in the day, whether that's going to the gym early because you can't go late on one day because you've got to go out for the cinema date because that's the only thing you can do with your girlfriend because you can't go for food. Like it could be anything like that. So you learn a lot of adaptation.
Does it like restrict do you find like things like not being able to go out for dinner, like stuff like that, do you think it does restrict your other like activities that you can do a lot?
It definitely restricts things, but it doesn't faze me really because it's just the choice that I've made. And I think if I was gonna make that choice and be kind of uncertain about it, I wouldn't be able to give my all to that state. So whether that means not eating a cheat meal for 4 months or 5 months, then whatever, that's the way it is.
How do you like when it comes to people that are sort of beginners in fitness and they don't know? They literally know like nothing about fitness. They just know, whatever they've heard. Because I know you do online coaching as well. Do you have any tips for teaching people? Because I find that quite hard.
Yes. So over the internet is really, really difficult for sure. And like being that is one of the difficulties of being an online coach is actually ensuring that the training is going proper, because I cannot never stress enough how good how important good form is and actually perfecting the movement and learning the movement and actually taking the time to learn. And it's actually a skill acquisition, like if you don't know how to squat, you're not going to be squatting properly. You're going to get bad knees, bad ankles, bad hips, whatever happens. So when I do get someone new, we focus on hitting a lot of different compounds, lots of times, and not very lightweight. So it's just about learning it and doing it over and over and over again. So you learn the movements for kind of 2-3 months down the line when you start to increase things and make them adapt. In terms of learning, I always try and get my clients to send me videos I try and get one video of every single lift that they do so that I can kind of critique them on it the best I can, whether it's a voice note, whether it's me giving them a video demonstration. And then if that doesn't work, I'll send them to YouTube, I'll send them to Google. Because a lot of the things is just like a mechanical difficulty because they've just never done it before. But generally, just through videos, that's the best way I can teach them. But YouTube, like YouTube's a wonderful thing. Like it's where I've learned everything. It's where I've learned everything I know. So there's no reason why you can't go out there as well and just Google, how do I squat properly? Easy.
It's definitely like I find there's like a huge amount of resources just all for free on YouTube, and it's like all compact, amazing. Like super easy, and none of it. A lot of it's like very unbiased. It's just like giving you legit information because people want to help get value, bring value.
And the good thing about fitness is that you can try it, and if it doesn't work, you don't need to do it because there's so many ways that you can do it. So don't be stuck to to doing a certain exercise because the process is good for you. Don't always have to deadlift because it gets you the big back. Like it doesn't. I hadn't deadlifted for a couple of years, so. Just listen to your body. Learn your body is the best thing that I could answer. Because it took me 3 years to even think about that.
Because I saw on your Instagram that you've been recently trying to get back into deadlifts because you thought it was a bit of a weak point. How do you, when you, like, because you're quite an advanced lifter, like, how do you go about becoming advanced at a lift that you don't really know that well, that you haven't done for a while? How do you go about learning that?
So first of all, pick the lifts. So for example, deadlifts, I picked deadlifts because I hadn't done them, like I said, for a couple of years, just because I'd always hurt my back, or I'd always just done things wrong. But in hindsight, I'd done things wrong because my training wasn't proper. I was just working up to the heaviest weight I could every time, and it's just ridiculous, because that's not what you should be doing. So if you are doing that, back off. Don't do that, because you're going to injure yourself, just like I did over and over again.
Yeah.
So I programmed it to kind of start less intense, so I could just build my neurological connection to doing a deadlift and actually learning that movement pattern inside out. And it's taken me probably 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, and now they feel sweet. Like, they feel very, very good. And from doing that, I filmed from front, side, back, sent them to as many different powerlifters as I could find, like, because I'm like, I do a deadlift as part of bodybuilding, sure, but like, powerlifters, that's what they do, about bench, squat, dead. So I'd much rather get the advice of someone like that who knows it inside out.
Yeah.
And just constantly assessing yourself. I've probably filmed myself every single one of those 7 weeks to do it. I started low and just worked my way up, and just did it as frequently as I could handle it. I think it was about twice a week at the start.
Yeah.
3 weeks the first couple of times, then just came down. So frequency of doing something is always going to make you learn it the fastest in terms of bodybuilding, for sure. Well, anything really, but yeah, for sure.
Like, would you, when doing that, so you start pretty light and then you work your way up until you've got like frequency, but then like, how do you know? Because I know definitely for myself, a lot of times, because I have a lot of issues, like I have really weird wrists, I have a fused spine, like I have 2 rods in my spine. So it's very very stiff spine. So there's a lot of things that I have to like think about before I push a weight. How do you know when to push a weight and when you know that you're ready to up the weight?
As soon as mechanical form breaks down. So once I would say in your first week of any kind of program, you should definitely standardize a form and make sure that form is never broken throughout any of the lifts. Otherwise, tracking your progress is going to be insulin. It's not going to be worth it, because if you're breaking form later on just to get the lift up, you're taking away from different muscle contractions. So even if the form's a little bit, it doesn't look perfect, but as long as it's consistent, you need to, like, that's the main thing. So
yeah,
as soon as that baseline of form is broken, for me, that's when you should stop pushing. So but if you're eating right, if you're eating right, training right, resting right, there's no reason why you shouldn't keep going up in weight.
What about things like, because I know there's a whole thing about when you can train a certain group again, and I think that's something that there's a lot of like random answers on the internet for it. Where personally, like, say if you would, I don't know what your split is, but like, say for example you're doing classic like leg push pull legs. What do you think that? Do you think this is something that I've been looking into recently? Because when I'm doing uni, I'm only really wanting to get in there for about 4 days a week. Something like doing upper body twice a week and doing legs twice a week. Like, but even, do you think that frequency could be increased to upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body rest? Like,
yeah. So this highly depends on like so many different variables, such as like kind of training age, normal age, like how much you're eating, all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, if you can only go to the gym for, like, you need to be doing things categorically more than once a week, in my opinion, just in my opinion, obviously. So that would mean either a full body split, an upper lower split, or a push pull leg split, doing that 6 times a week. And obviously depending on the frequency. So if you are going 4 times a week, you could either do 4 full body splits, or you could do upper, lower, obviously alternating.
Yeah.
But wherever you can, you need to be putting frequency. And frequency will all depend on the training volume that you're doing. So you can do things, I would probably give a maximum of about 5 times a week. You could probably do something. Yeah. I.e., you could do some lateral delts like your middle delts 5 times a week, maybe the smaller muscles 5 times a week, but the volume in those sessions would be very, very small. So it'd be kind of like what even 2 to 3 sets in those sessions, so that you accumulate your volume over the week. So as long as you're hitting that certain amount of volume that you personally need, again, which will all completely vary, but anywhere from kind of 8 to 25 sets per muscle group, you know, so it's quite a big range depending on what you react to. But you want to be hitting things as frequently as you can, you know, as frequently as you can.
What about, like, because when you go into the gym, do you sort of mentally track what you're doing and the weights you're doing, or do you write it down, or like how do you track your progress in that way?
Yeah, so everything's written down. I've got like I just got an app for it. It's called Rep Count. You guys should definitely download it if you're interested in tracking your lifts. It's super easy, and I just think everyone's on their phones these days. Like people can type faster than they can right now. So like I'm just going like this is the way I am right now. So I'm part of technology. I'm using it and embracing it rather than using the old school notebook. That's just the way I do it. Some people use the old school notebook, but this app, you just punch it in, put any notes next to it. It gives you everything you need to track your volume, reps, sets, everything. So I'd highly recommend that.
What about, for instance, if because I know there's a lot of things where say if you get a shit night's sleep, you're not going to perform well in the gym. You're going to do that. Do you think you should still push up to the weight that you were hitting last session, or should you just listen to your body and respect the lower weight?
I definitely think it depends. Like, it depends on where you are and what you're doing. For example, if you're like very, very close to a competition, either powerlifting or bodybuilding, you don't you need to be doing that session, and you're gonna have to go do that session and do the best you can. But if you were, say, like in a surplus and trying to gain muscle, and you think that you're not gonna have an effective session, I think there'd be much more value in just stepping away from that session.
Because what would be the difference? Like, why would the surplus sort of make it more beneficial to step away?
I would say just because if you're very, very close to a competition, you'd need to be having that session just to burn the amount of calories that you need to do on a daily basis, just to be able to keep the body fat off. And really, because you're probably more likely to be getting more tired on a prep anyway. So you've got to have to deal with that feeling somewhat. Whereas if you are just feeling a little bit tired, it could be because your volume's creeping up, or your body's telling you to rest. You know, obviously your body's going to tell you to rest 4 weeks out from a competition because you're super lean. So I think if your body's telling you to rest when you've got lots of food, you've been growing, you're still really super strong, just take the rest, because it's whatever. But I would say that there's something in what you said there, like, should you just go how you feel and take a little bit off? I think that's a very, very, very good way of training for the majority of the population. Is auto-regulation. So just go in and train how you feel. You know, some days you get those days when you feel like a beast and you just want to go at it, and you just go, you know what, I'm going to get some heavy weight on. Go get some heavy weight on. Then you get some days you think, oh, you know what, I'm just going to get a pump today. Get a pump. Because that's just, you know, if it's going to help enjoyment of training and promote the healthy lifestyle, like, by all means, like, go ahead and do that. Speaking
of rest, when it comes to deloads, how important do you think deloads are? And like, because I've read a little bit about them, but I don't know too much of the in-depth about deloads. When do you think deloads should be used?
So if you're running a proper, I don't know if I want to say proper, but if you're running a training protocol where, like, the weeks are programmed and you know what you're doing each day and everything's the same, I would say that every 4 to 8 weeks you'd need to deload. Again, depending on the person. Some people are just, I'd say the stronger you are, the earlier you should deload. So if you're kind of like in the upper echelons of strength, then, you know, every 4 to 5 weeks you could be looking to do that. But if you're someone who's a little bit kind of younger in their bodybuilding lifeline, every 6 to 8 weeks, 100% come, and all you do is just back off your like heavy weights, probably by about 75%. Put your volume up a little bit, and just rest. Take an extra rest day that week. And just make sure you come back fully refreshed, because it's like, the way I like to describe it is like, you're going on a long journey, you've got to drive 1,000 miles. At some point, you're gonna have to take a stop, refuel, you know, just make sure you can keep going at the same pace. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You can't just keep progressing week in, week out. It's too much for the body to handle.
What are the main things that are sort of being, I guess, repaired in that time?
So obviously the things that repair fastest are our muscles, as we hit them every kind of like, we can hit them every 48 hours or so. But then you've got things like ligaments, tendons, all of the things that you're taking a hit as you train, especially when you get up to the heavy weights. So it's just to back off that heavy pressing or heavy squatting just for a little bit can really just help them get a full recovery and make you come back stronger. And maybe it'll take longer than a week. You know, that's when you have to take all the variables into consideration and how you're feeling and how things are moving. And maybe you need 2 weeks, and then you just take 2 weeks, and you're going to come back stronger anyway. So you got to train smart. Otherwise, it's about longevity. Because if you're not lifting, you're not going to do anything anyway. So
because I feel like there's a lot of like, especially because a lot of the people who like follow me are quite like scoliosis based, and that's like my spine thing. Like a lot of with them, I think they should be lifting, but they got to be lifting smart, because like it's very easy to fuck it up, and then like you could fuck it up for life if you really like mess it up.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
When it comes to, because I see on your story, you go for walks and you just sort of think about things and you talk about things. How important do you think taking a walk and just chilling out, like how do you get that time in where you really just chill out and you don't do anything, you just sort of relax and you just do like almost relax exercise or even meditation or anything like that?
I think mental space is just so important. It's just so important for self-reflection, appreciation, just anything, refocus. I used to go for, when I was doing prep, I'd wake up, go for my walk in the morning, and it would just be bliss. I'd either put a podcast on or maybe some music sometimes nothing. I wouldn't do anything. I would try not to text. I'll try not to do anything. Sometimes I'll do Q&As, but then that'd be a set time when I'm doing a Q&A for the Instagram, from the social media aspect. But most of the time, I'm not even taking my phone with me. I'm just switching off, chilling out, listening to the wind, listening to all the leaves going. That's just the way I do it. But there's meditation, there's cardio. Like, I'm not joking, cardio. When you get in that rhythm of breathing and your heart rate's at a certain pace, and your mind's wandering off elsewhere, it's just time to reflect on life. I think creating the mental space for me has created a lot of focus in my life, and I think that can be highly valuable across all walks of life, not even not just fitness or anything like that. Yeah. So I think mental health is just as important as physical health, as emotional health. All of these things, they all work in synchronization. When one's suffering, maybe your mental health's getting a bit tired because you're super lean. When I'm physically suffering, like my mental, it gets a bit weird. Like, it's hard. So they're all linked, so you just got to take care.
I definitely found, like, because before I started all this, I don't know, I was like a young teenager, didn't really know what I wanted at all in many different things, and I found lifting did help me sort of see things more clearly. Do you find like lifting helps you know what you want more, and like shows you sort of like, especially with social media, because like obviously you've turned fitness, which is your passion, into your career. Like, do you find it's helped you sort of show you what you actually want to do?
Definitely. I've always, well, not always, but from uni when I started lifting, I always thought, when I was in my second, third year, I was always thinking I needed to be around this sport, I needed to be around learning about this bodybuilding. So finally, when I was able to make the leap and make it my full-time job, like it just the more I do it, the more I realize that this is what I want to do in life. This is especially with social media now, like I can reach out to so many more people and actually get things right, rather than just continuing with like the kind of the misread messages that are going on in the industry right now. So it's definitely clear that where I want to go in life, for sure. For sure.
How do you have any advice for growing a following and actually like getting your influence out there when you have something that you want to say and you want to sort of get your message out there?
Yeah, for sure. So I had this conversation with someone today, so it's fresh in my memory. And people always ask this in terms of like, because I had a little bit of quite quick growth, so I had a few questions about it, and it was just because I just did the basics that everyone's gonna know from Googling how do I grow my Instagram, and post at the right time, so learn when your audience is online most.
Yeah.
Post frequently. Make sure you post every day, because the algorithm is going to treat you well if you're constantly investing into their app by putting pictures.
Yeah.
Hashtag it right. Make the picture look good. And just keep doing it over and over and over and over again, and give value. You know, don't just post a picture because you need to post. Like, think about something that adds value to them. If someone reads it, what are they going to take away from it? I try and get one thing in every post, then I'm fine. And then obviously a few I can delve into some deeper information, which I try and do.
Yeah.
So the more value you give, you know, the more your followers are going to stick around. The more you post, the more followers you're going to get. Collaborations is the biggest one. So whether you get someone on your podcast, or whether you do a workout together, where you film together, where you put him on your story and he puts you on his story, you know, all those kind of things, like other people's audiences who are similar audiences, that's easy takings, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then sponsored ads and everything. So it's just doing those things over and over again, and I just committed to doing it for about, I think I did 300 just over a year days in a row, where I did 2 posts every single day. So
how do you give value in posts? Because sometimes I find that hard, because like sometimes I underestimate like what I know and what I can give, and then I find sometimes if I try and give value, someone will be like, oh hey, this helped me, and then it's like sometimes I don't know what brings value. How do you know when you're bringing value?
So yeah, it's a good question. I should maybe not say it's going to bring value, but what I perceive to bring value to people. So whether that's like, I mean, fitness is relatively easy because there's so much you can talk about. Like, you can talk about each individual lift, you can talk about movement parts of the lift, you can talk about all the food and the nutritional side. So there is actually like thousands of things I can talk about. So if I do run out of ideas, I can always just get on Google or on YouTube and just have a little look around and just plan things a little bit better, so I know what's going on. Following trends is pretty good as well. Like, if you kind of go through the explore page or go through your news feed first, and just see what people are talking about, and then just jump on that bandwagon, that's also pretty good. And then maybe just like advice and things that you think would be advice to people, or maybe something that you had thought that you wish you had yourself. Yeah. I think there's some value in things like that, as long as you're open and ready to get shut down very often, and just take it and just say, okay, yeah, you're right, cool, like, great, now I know that better, I'm a bet like that's better for it, you know, because especially in fitness, like, I'm always putting out my opinions on things and how you should do this and how you should do that. But when someone comments on them and gives me some good references, it shows me exactly where the study says this and that, perfect. Like, now I can tell that to my followers, and I can say, look, no, I was wrong, I've made this mistake, now you guys can learn from it. Just be ready to fall, because it's just what happens. Everyone falls, you know. Everyone's gonna make a mistake or say something wrong, so be corrected and learn more. So it's even better. It's a win-win if you think about it.
How do you find, like, there's a lot of, because I know there's a whole stigma around social media, you know, negative people, you know, giving their anonymous output. Do you find there is a lot of like pushback, or are most people generally positive and most people generally want to just most people Yeah, most people are positive. There's a few, but there's always a few. But it's nowhere near as many as the people who are always spreading the love. Yeah. Do you find, like, just when it comes to like starting your coaching business and doing social media and all that kind of stuff, have you had any major difficulties that have sort of made it like hard and made it?
I just think the hardest part was when I was prepping, balancing. I had my girlfriend, I had all the prep, then I had my business, and I had the online coaching, I had the social media that I'd committed to myself to do 3 times a day at that point, and then making YouTube videos. So yeah, like it did get hard to balance things, but as the dieting comes down, like things just even out, and I just learned the value of time planning, like planning what's going on, really. Time management.
What sort of, because I quite like time management. What sort of systems do you use for time management, and how do you go about like planning your day?
So first thing I do, I try not to look at my phone first thing in the morning. So I kind of just walk around for a bit, maybe have some food, and then when I'm sat down having my food, I'll write down every single thing that I need to do in the day, and I'll just go for the hardest one first, and then just go through it, and then in between that, I just go to the gym. Yeah. And then before I go to bed, I just go back over the list, ensure that's all done. I've got time slots for when I do kind of work. So I prefer to work in the evening. I just feel a little bit more alert. So I just kind of do a bit more in the evening. In the morning, take my time to go around. But most of it's just kind of just routine. Just getting into a routine and just doing the same thing, because routines work, whether you like it or not. As long as it's a routine you enjoy and it's not a monotonous thing that you don't want to do anymore. Like routines work, and routines are healthy because they get you into healthy patterns and things to do. So as long as you use them right, it can be unhealthy as well, obviously. But
what about because I know I have a lot of trouble with, I'll get into a routine and then my girlfriend lives like 100 kilometers away, so I basically commute down there and the routine is completely knocked out. How do you, like, say if you do go traveling, how do you get back into a routine that you know is productive and is good?
Yeah, so my base, which is home, which was where my normal routine is, that routine will never change. So whether I come in or out of it, I'm going to go straight back to that routine. And from there, like, I just make sure I know where I'm going, where the gym I'm going to, at what time, who I'm training with, if I'm training with anyone. I always lock that in before I go anywhere. Or if I need to train, is it a rest day? What kind of food do I need available? Or do I need to bring it with me or not? And then they're the only questions I really need to ask myself. Other than that, it's pretty free.
Do you find planning food gets hard?
It's not so much when I'm in a calorie surplus, because I can wait and just have a huge meal. But when I'm in a deficit, like, for sure.
Do you find that's definitely like significantly harder than a bulk?
Yes. But I enjoy it more. I like that grind.
Why do you enjoy like losing calories more? Why?
I just think the transformation that you have to go through, and like if you're truly getting like to the bone shredded, like it's like I feel like a newborn baby every time I come out of it. It's like a mental transformation where I push harder than I think I can push. Like I'm saying no to myself, but I just don't stop, and doing that kind of thing, I feel builds self-confidence and character, maybe, because every time I do it, I feel like a stronger person with more focus in life and kind of just more, I don't know, just good feelings. Like I just feel stronger every time I do it.
What do you have
appreciate
any tips,
a lot more as well.
What about when you're like, this is like very typical, but like when you're like reaching for the donut, you're like, you want to eat that donut, whatever. Like, do you have any tips for that? Like when you shouldn't be doing something, but you want to do it, how do you sort of bridge that gap?
The best thing is to make it not happen in the first place, so not make that craving. So if you do think, to a certain extent, but if you're just like the average person dieting, which I completely understand you wanting to reach for the donut because I want to do that as well. But if you create a system whereby you kind of satisfy your cravings, maybe you've just got a sweet tooth rather than you want the donut, and then you can give yourself maybe, I don't know, some honey yogurt or whatever works for you best, like as a sweet tooth, some low calorie ice cream. There's always ways around it to avoid the heavy stuff, and then maybe just set yourself a day where you just know that, okay, on this day I can have one main meal and one nice dessert that I want, anything I want, and that can just help you focus throughout the week. So we obviously call them cheat days in the industry, but I like to think of them more as like refeed days, because they're a mental refeed, there's a mental break, as well as a physical break as well, just to bring some food up. So setting yourself a little goal can always help.
How does a refeed day work? Because I've never gone through a cut. I've pretty much literally just tried to bulk, but like, how do you go about doing that? Is it like you eat 4K calories, or do you just eat like, a bit more?
So generally, you'll double or triple your carbohydrate intake.
Oh, okay.
Depending on carbohydrate intake, and you'd actually bring your fats down a little bit, because it's more of a refeed. A refeed is more of like a glycogen replenishment. So after weeks of dieting, you just slowly get kind of depleted. So you'd want to bring that up. If you're doing it for kind of performance, it's carbohydrates high, fats relatively low, protein relatively low. If you're doing it because you just feel a little bit flat and you don't feel as big today, you could probably get away with anything you wanted. Maybe like a bit of a high fat, high carb, high protein meal. Like, that's fine. But if you're doing it for performance, it's carbohydrates always.
Would it be like one meal, or would it be like once a week or once every 2, 3, 4 weeks?
So again, on prep, it would just be depending on when you need it. You know, if you've still got fat to lose, you're not going to get it. You know, I didn't have one for about 9-10 weeks, I think, for the first time. And that'll be kind of spread throughout the day just so you can digest it, because it tends to be pretty high, like pretty high in terms of carbs, like really, really high. Like most people would find it hard to stomach, but when you're dieting, like you can eat anything. But then if you were just feeling small, or feeling a little bit depleted or feeling a little bit flat, you would probably just want to do it in one huge meal because your food is probably decent already, or one decent meal. And you'd just do that when you feel like you need it. Again, if you take it too much as one a week, you could just end up putting too much body fat on and then doing the week, because it's always calories in versus calories out over like a 7-day period. That's the best way to track it. So if you have 6 days of 2,000 calories, and then you have 1 day of 10,000 calories, that 10,000 calories just gets spread across those days, and you could end up being in a surplus if you have too big of a meal. So you've got to track everything and make sure you're not going crazy with it.
Did you ever have trouble with actually getting calories in?
Yes. Last season I got to 6,300 calories every day.
Holy shit! What? Jesus.
Yeah. It was brutal.
What kind of? Do you have any tips for that? Like, how do you fit that in? Is it just peanut butter shakes or?
you gotta have low volume foods, low fiber food. So no oats. Like all I had was ground rice, like baby rice. Yeah. Because it's just like nothing. It just goes down easy, and it's like for like, but a third of the size. I had a lot of shakes, like protein shakes, just to stay away from eating too much meat all the time. Yeah. And I just ate foods that I knew that I could eat rather than foods that I just didn't want to eat. Yeah. So I was pretty good with eating kind of rices and cereals. So I had lots of rice and cereals. But you've got to pick foods that you can eat and that are low in fiber and low in kind of gluten or anything that's going to slow down digestion.
Yeah. How many calories would you say, like, it? Because since I like literally 2 days ago, because I've been on a plateau for like 6 months, I've been at like 64, and recently last 2 days I started eating 4K calories, trying to really just like force growth. How many calories over your maintenance do you think is just too much?
It's pretty difficult to put a number on it, just because you are going to upregulate. So, for example, when I'm on 6,300 calories, I'm not actually gaining. I'm sure technically, if I put myself into a calculator, I'm like eating 2,500 calories over my maintenance. But I'm not gaining like a lot of weight. I'm not gaining much weight on that. I'm only gaining a little bit. So you do upregulate what's somewhat. You know, your metabolism will come up. And it will get stronger, the more muscle you do have. I think the best way to track it is just by how much body fat you put on and how much weight you put on. And the best way to put weight on, if you're a natural bodybuilder, is just, if you're in a good calorie surplus already, is just 1% of your body weight per month. So pretty easy.
So you sort of, like, you say if you're going for a 6-month bulk, every month you want to add 1% of body fat?
Yeah. 1% of body weight.
Body weight.
So body weight.
So, and
you just do that every month.
Because I've heard like obviously, you know, muscle protein synthesis has its limits. Like, it can't do 6 kgs of muscle in a week. Like, how? Yeah. This is just like a very question that I just want to ask. But like, how do you know how much is how much do you think you can actually do, like, in a week or in a day, like, of actual genuine muscle?
That's
for like a relatively new person.
I definitely couldn't put a small enough, like I couldn't do like a day or a week or a month. Like, that's pretty small scale. Like, it'd probably insignificant. But if you were a new person coming into the gym and you did a full year of lifting, I mean, if you new into the gym, you could hope for 8+ kilos of pure muscle. Like, and then as you kind of go further and further down the line, maybe it's 6 the next year, 5 the next year, 4 the next year, 3 the next year, and it just as you get further down, it just gets harder and harder and harder to gain muscle.
And do you find
again, sorry,
like, when you get to the end of a year, will you be like, okay, I gained 2 kgs this year, and will you be like sick? Like, how do you?
I would, I would,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm pretty far down the line.
Yeah.
But if you're if you're early and you're only gaining that much, you're doing something wrong, you know.
Do you like would you be mainly going for like conditioning? Like, I think, is that what they call it? Conditioning for like shredding body fat. Like when you're trying to go from competition to competition, would the main goal just be coming in better conditioned? Like,
depending on your feedback. So if you're lean enough already, the goal would probably be to try and get your calories a little bit higher. And you'd just kind of you'd do a thing called a reverse diet, which is where you just kind of slowly add in calories over time. And you could probably hope to get a little bit leaner, depending how lean you are. If you've got no more body fat, you're not going to get leaner. But if you need to get leaner, I didn't, which was lucky for me. Actually, for one of mine, I needed to come a little bit bigger, so I just increased the food, and that was it. So the goal is always post competition to increase the food, but if you need to get leaner, then yeah, you just try and get leaner. So you'd always get feedback. You'd see the pictures. You'd see how you looked on the day. And you just go from there.
Is that like the general feed? Like when you finish a competition, when you want to go into the next year, do you just sort of go work off the feedback that the judges give you, and then just make a plan from that?
Somewhat, but it's my body, so I kind of like I just want to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You know, I want to look how I want to look. I think a lot of it's on genetics in terms of criteria like this, like the physique criteria. I think it's very genetically predispositioned, kind of small waist, big shoulders, longer torsos. And I think I've just got that body type anyway. So I think no matter how I sort of grow, unless it's crazy out of proportionate, which I don't think I'd let it happen, I'm going to be all right anyway. So I don't think you really need to worry.
What about
too
like,
much.
Say if you have like say for instance, myself, my traps, like they're not there. How do you go and like build your weak points when you know, say you think a certain muscle is your weak point? Do you just smash that muscle with heaps of frequency, or?
Yeah, exactly. So just up the frequency a little bit. Again, so we talk about these deloads. So each in between these deloads, we'll call it a mesocycle of training. Obviously, we have a mesocycle every 6 to 8 weeks. In a macro cycle, being a year, you'd have 6 or 7 microcycles, mesocycles. So within that, you would start week 1 with, say, traps twice a week. 2 sets of 15 reps, and the next week it'd be three sets of the same, and then it'd be 4 sets, and then it'd be 3 days, and it'd be 4 days. And as you get towards the deload, the frequency and the volume increases with good form. So as long as form's still there, you keep increasing it, and then you deload, then you strip back down to the low volume again, and then you just slowly increase again, and you just put more focus on the aspects that you want to grow more.
What about like manipulating rep ranges? Because this is something that I think about quite a lot, but I don't know much about it. I don't know where to find sort of good information on it apart from like scientific journals or something. But how do you sort of choose manipulating rep ranges?
So if we're looking for hypertrophy, you don't really need to be going below 6 reps probably, and you don't really need to be going above 20 reps. You can still grow doing above 20 reps, but you're just going to get it's just tiring, you know, when you can do the same work in less reps. I think for me, I would just rather do it. So we'd say between 6 and 20 reps for most exercises. And then from there, you just want to be assessing your volume and making sure that you're hitting enough across the weeks, basically.
I see a lot of people like online saying a lot of very like, 50 rep finisher, like, you know, we start with 50 whatever, like chest flies and like all that kind of stuff. Do you think that is sort of overhyped, you know, motivational sort of stuff, or do you think that could genuinely have a place?
I mean, it has a place because it does work to a certain extent, because I mean, I remember doing this kind of stuff and I got bigger, so I know it works. And I remember some days I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do 100 reps on this. Okay, next week I'm going to do 110. So there was always some kind of progression on the way. Yeah. And also just doing something more with weight, you're still going to get a little bit dense, so you're still going to get some progression. But I just don't think it's efficient. I don't think it's optimal. Yeah. So especially if you're doing it the whole session. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for a 50 rep finisher, but as long as I know that 50 reps was done on 10 kilos and next week I need to do it on 11 kilos, you know, then that's fine. All for it.
What about for someone who would one day this would probably never be me just because of my back, but someone who one day wanted to go into doing physique competitions, what would you say to them? Like, what advice would you give them?
Invest into your physique. So, like, do it for the long haul if you're going to do it. Do it right. So, give yourself enough time to get lean enough. Be big enough to start off with. Don't come in if you're not going to have enough muscle, because you're going to end up losing more muscle, and it's going to take you even more years to be able to get to where you need to be, where you want to go if you want to be competing properly. And just have fun with it. It's hard, but just have fun with it and surround yourself with the right people, because as long as you've got people supporting you, it's a breeze. You can keep going.
I'll just finish off with this. What advice do you have for people looking to sort of create content and bring value online?
Think about what you want to see. Don't. I mean, it's great to look at other people and what they're creating. It is, but how can you put your own spin on it? And it's something that I'm trying to find as well. I would say I probably still haven't found the spin that I want to get onto my YouTube channel. It's still growing, but it's nowhere near where I want it to be. So it's a constant progress. It's persistence. Trying to put your own spin on things, and just not stopping, basically, because one day that could be it. It could be the video that changes everything.
I definitely find, like, when I look at, like, podcasts don't go viral, but like my I guess strategy is like just pump them out and just keep doing it until something pops. If it never pops at like 1,000 episodes, then maybe you're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I would love if you would check Josh out on his YouTube and his Instagram. He's doing really well with his bodybuilding, but he is still trying to grow his social media platforms, and he is putting out great content that does actually bring a lot of value, just from my point of view, because recently I've been doing a lot of bodybuilding style training, and his advice, obviously he's like one of the top probably 1% in his field. He knows a lot about what he's doing. A lot of it may be genetics, but it is also knowledge. Genetics, it's sort of like you can see genetics as luck, and then work as knowledge equaling opportunity. So he really does know his stuff. Go check out his YouTube, his Facebook, I don't think he has Facebook. Go check out his YouTube, his Instagram. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I'd love if you would leave a review. And yeah, thank you guys very much for listening. Have a good night.